Good morning. Thank you so much for meeting us here this morning. Today, 13 members of the United States House of Representatives are returning to the Gulf Coast to gauge whatever progress has been made since we were here about a year ago. Last year, when we came, we rolled up our sleeves and we worked on ways that we could help the region we build. In the last few months of our majority, in the first few months, we delivered. We made some promises and we have delivered on those promises. We're here to see how we can continue this partnership, a partnership to chart out a new direction for the Gulf Coast. Those of you who have seen the handouts for this 3 days, you saw a logo, a very interesting logo, and I thank Speaker Pelosi for putting forth that logo to remind us that we are all Americans and we're all in this together.
This natural disaster, which was exacerbated by another man-made disaster in terms of the response, was a challenge to the conscience of the country in a huge way. And again, we have been taught a lot of humility how we responded to that challenge, but we are determined to get the job done. We have come here to listen to the official family of Louisiana and New Orleans and other parishes. We are here now, as we leave here, to walk the streets, to visit the homes, to visit the schools, to learn firsthand about the infrastructure on site, to understand the scope, the challenge of healthcare issues here. Governor said in her remarks this morning, how can someone come home if they don't have a house to come home to? And then it follows through, or a job, or a school, or health care, quality of life. So we know it's the full package. We're fully committed to working in partnership. We, again, made some promises last year before we had the majority. We've kept those promises. We're here with our new partnership for the Gulf Coast. Promises kept, and again, a new direction, a new partnership for the future.
If you have any questions, we'll try to answer them.
Speaker Pelosi, with the No Child Left Behind reauthorization coming up, there's a great concern that schools in the New Orleans district are not going to be able to make the grade. And in what sense does it make to punish schools that are going to need resources anyways? Do you have any comments?
Yes, the chair of the Education and Labor Committee, and we have some members here, Carol Shea Porter for one, who are here. Bobby, you're on the committee as well, and you may want to speak to this. But all I will just say from the perspective of the speaker, the chairman of the committee has had hearings and listening sessions all over the country, and people have come to Washington to share their views on No Child Left Behind. It is clear that it was legislation that, despite the best intentions, was not fair, was not flexible, and was not funded. So change had to be made. And through the listening sessions and hearings and the experiences of states, while, of course, the accountability issues and the responsibility that we have to students remain constant, this bill will be so different that it would be unrecognizable. We're even thinking about changing its name. Please do you to Mr. Scott.
There are going to be a lot of changes in No Child Left Behind, and one that you've alluded to is what we're going to go to what's called a growth model to make sure that the children are actually improving, not a static model. So I think everybody will be treated fairly. If you're doing a good job and students are making significant progress, they'll be scored by the progress, not technically whether they're up to one grade or another. We always felt it was somewhat absurd to punish a school when the kids came to school 3 years behind, and when they finished with them, they're 1 year behind. So you got 2 years worth of progress in 1 year, and that would be a failing school, where another school would have students coming in a year ahead, and when they finished with them, they were at grade level, and they would get scored as passing because they were at grade level. We're going to go to a growth model to really measure what the schools are doing, and I think New Orleans will do well.
I'm Carol Shea Porter from New Hampshire, and one of the issues I campaigned on was that I didn't like the No Child Left Behind Act. And there I wind up on the Education Labor Committee with Chairman Miller. And I said, Chairman Miller, I can't find people in New Hampshire who like your program, so how about you come up and tell them about it? And he did, which shows his openness and his commitment for change. And I heard him say there, and I think it's very important, that the words he regretted the most hearing from places, from newspapers, from everywhere, was a failing school, because it was never the intention to punish a school. And he regretted that deeply. And what you will see is so good and reflects the changes that the people have asked for, that I do believe I'll be able to put my name on that in committee. So you know we've come a long way, and the commitment is there to the schools. This will be a surprise to Chairman Miller if he's listening, but to the schools, that we are listening and we are going to make it better so that people will feel proud of their schools, committed, and will have the resources that they need to move forward. Thank you.
If I just may, Mr. Whip, just add to that, among the places that Mr. Miller had hearings was right here in Louisiana.
Two major changes we're going to make in No Child Left Behind include going to a growth model. That is, instead of having a static test as to whether the students are up to grade level today, it being the measure, how much they grew during the year. That means if students come from far behind and almost get up to grade level, but made significant improvement during the year, that's obviously a good school. Another school can get kids who started out way ahead and end up just barely above grade level. Under the present score, they're up to grade level. We want to make sure that we're scoring the schools for the progress that the students make. Obviously, when students come from New Orleans and have had their education disrupted, many of them are going to be behind. We want to make sure that the schools aren't punished under the scoring system because they receive students behind, although they may have done an excellent job. The other measure that's going to be extremely important is counting dropouts. There are many areas where the dropout rate is absolutely atrocious. Under the scoring system, if you have a high dropout rate, and presumably the people are dropping out from the bottom, the higher your dropout rate, the higher your average score is. So you really have an incentive to have a high dropout rate. We're going to be punishing schools for having a high dropout rate under the scoring system to make sure that they are not incentivized to let kids drop out of school. Once they drop out, they become a problem to the social service and criminal justice system. So we're not helping anybody by having a high